One of Neville Goddard's most famous manifestation teachings is feeling is the secret. But the question is, how do you do that? And in 1965, Neville actually gave a lecture where he shared a little known manifestation technique specifically for feeling is the secret. So you can feel like your wish, your manifestation has already been fulfilled. This isn't talked about a lot, and I did a lot of research on old lectures and stumbled across this one in 1965 with the exact manifestation technique to feel as if you've already manifested your desire. So if you're new to the channel, you may not know Neville Goddard is one of my favorite spiritual teachers and teachers on manifestation. If you're a returner, you may already know that. If you love Neville too, be sure to comment down below, I love Neville. And make sure you get my free success hypnosis. It's jakeshypnosis.com. It's my free manifestation hypnosis MP3 to start to reprogram your subconscious mind so you can start attracting what you want quicker, faster, and easier. So Neville called this the time exposure technique. And he said everyone at some time either owned or experienced the experience of having a photograph taken. Well, many years ago, it struck me forcibly that I would relate my mind to a sensitized film and that I would set up in a time exposure before an imaginal event. So think about how interesting that is, right? I film my own YouTube videos. I'm filming myself here, right? So I actually set up when I hit record, it's on a time lapse that starts a few seconds after I hit the record button, right? So what he's saying is literally imagine in your mind, and if you need to, you can have your iPhone in front of you so you have visual imagery, just like you would go in your iPhone and you'd say like, take this photo in 10 seconds and you hit it and then it counts down from 10 or 5 or 3. You do the exact same thing with a specific scenario that you want to manifest. And without sounding redundant, this is exactly what I did, pretending I was refreshing my YouTube internet browser and holy crap, my videos just went viral. Oh my gosh. And I can see myself shaking the mouse and boom, and it's like 10 quick photos. You know how on an iPhone, you can do a burst of photos when you hit it and then it takes like 10? Or you could do that on a nice camera too and it takes like 10, it's a burst of them. Do exactly that with a specific scenario. Neville goes on to say, it simply develops all that you take and projects it onto the screen of space. And therefore, you have a three-dimensional picture in moving dramas in your world just based upon what you're taking. So this is crazy. This is my book in South Korean right here, which is freaking great. I have no idea what it says. I mean, I guess I know what the cover says because it's my book translated into South Korean. And what I used to do, I was 19, 20, 21. I dropped out of college and I backpacked around the world and then I wrote a book about it and all the publishers said no. So what I would do is I would take my self-published books to Barnes & Noble. So just imagine right now, you're sitting here with me. You're right here on this stool, right next to me, and we are in Barnes & Noble. We just got our coffee from the Starbucks that's always attached to Barnes & Noble. We're sitting there, and I brought a backpack with like 20 of my books, and I just start putting them in all the self-help and personal development slots. Remind you, this is a self-published book no one's heard of. And I would do that at every Barnes & Noble I would go to. I would make a deliberate habit of making this part of my week. But I wouldn't just do that. Then I would sit in one of those chairs that are in some of the aisles at Barnes & Noble, and I would imagine my books are really there, and I am now being contacted by foreign publishers because my book is selling so well. But the craziest thing is that it ended up happening. This is my book years later in South Korean, published now with Penguin Random House, the #1 publisher in the world. Really, my books are in Barnes & Noble right next to one of my favorite authors, Wayne Dyer, because my last name's Ducey and his is Dyer. It actually happened, and it started with me developing it as clear photographs within my mind. Now, the crazy thing is, not only can you use this technique, and I'll finish explaining how Neville says to use it, but it's also scientifically proven now. You know I'm a nerd on neuroscience, right? So the Department of Psychology at Harvard University published it. Oh, did I say Harvard? Yes! In 2012, they did a study. The future, memory, remembering, imagining, and the brain. And to quote Harvard's own research on this, they clearly state that your brain can't tell the difference between a real and an imagined memory. Remembering the past, actually on the brain scans, was less vivid than them imagining a vivid future. There was more activation in the hippocampus region of the brain during imagination than from actually recalling past experiences and past memories. So here's an exact quote from the Harvard research. A common brain network underlies both memory and imagination. So Harvard takes all these people and then they hook them up to brain scans and they have them imagine things in the future that haven't happened yet. And then they also have them remember things that really did happen. Like, what'd you eat for a sandwich when you were 7 years old and your mom dropped you off to the bus, right? Just joking. But seriously, they have real memories. Then they hook them up and they measure the activity in their brain. They found out that the hippocampus and many regions of the brain were more engaged from imagining things than real past memories. So basically, this is proven. And Neville continues, I liken my mind to sensitized film, which I would set up in a frame before an imaginal event. I could tell you what I'm going to focus on, and then I would take it. I found a great secret concerning feelings. I tried all kinds of things and found that this peculiar thing worked. I would simply get myself as I looked at my picture that I wanted to take. And then I would breathe in and breathe in and breathe out, in and out. And I finally got more and more excited, as though the thing was becoming more sensitized, more vivid. Then I found that as I looked at it, I made one final deep inhalation. I exploded with energy, the only word I could find to describe the sensation, that every little atom of my being exploded from head to toes, my fingers, everything. Then I had no desire to repeat that performance. It seemed to relieve me. A sense of release possessed me. So basically what he's describing there is when he used this technique, what Harvard proved was that you don't need to force it. You don't have to force your manifestation and be like, oh my God, I need it, I want it, where's it? I need to do the next technique to manifest it. Because at that point, your brain doesn't even think it's real. Neville said he used this time-lapse technique to paint such a sensitized, vivid photograph that boom, once he clicked the photo in his mind, he lost the desire for it because it was so real in his mind, his brain shut on. Just like Harvard proved that the imagined ones had more of a brain reaction, especially in the hippocampus region, which using this technique, when you do it vividly enough, like Neville suggested, then your brain will switch on like Harvard proved. Your hippocampus will switch on, you'll activate more cells in your brain, and your brain will think it happened. And when that occurs, then you no longer have a thing that you hope manifests. It's actually now real. It's become real in your brain, and then it's just basically like a stopwatch countdown timer until you see it materialize in third dimension in your life. So Neville ended by stating, I discovered that all that was written about me is true. There is no other savior. You can bring yourself out of poverty into whatever you consider to be wealth. And that's a relative term. You may not desire $1 million. You may desire, say, $100,000. That may seem to you enormous security. All right, if it does, that's it. If 10,000 would make it, that's it. I don't care what it is. You take the picture, leave it alone, and then the whole vast world convulses and moves towards bringing to birth this picture. So what I invite you to do is your own Harvard experiment, just like they did with the imagined events, using this Neville Goddard time exposure technique, photograph technique. And do this for a simple 30 to 60 seconds. That's it, a simple 30 to 60 seconds. And then you will know, once you feel that release, that click in your brain, the technique is complete. So if you love this technique, if you love Neville and you want to see more Neville Goddard techniques from old lectures that you may not know about, comment down below, I love Neville. Put a smile on your face and get my free success hypnosis. It's jakeshypnosis.com, pinned to the comments and in the description. Over 1.3 million people from all over the world have used it, which is crazy in and of itself. It's free, and every day I get these awesome stories of people who attract all types of crazy miracles into their life from using it. This is the number one thing that I use, and I'll do it even when I work. Just if I'm doing computer work, I'll listen to it. It's free to use. Incredible things will happen in your life, and a lot of people don't know I have it. So check it out right there down below, jakeshypnosis.com. If you enjoyed this video, here's another Neville video I think you're gonna love as well.